And I will try to leave it on. If I do take it off, I'll stay on my mat when I do. So, good, we're ready. Hey, you know what? Let's start lying on our backs. So let yourself come on down onto the floor and easily, whether you want to keep your knees bent or maybe you feel better to straighten your legs out. You know, get where you're comfortable on the floor there. We may stay here forever. And let your arms get comfortable, your legs, and let your head just roll a little bit side to side like you're massaging the back of your head. Just feel really easy as you come into, then just coming into stillness, letting yourself be comfortable, watching your breath. If you can enjoy a couple of 3-part breaths, inhaling into your belly, into your ribs, all the way up into your chest. Now, on your next exhale, bring your right knee in towards your chest and let your left leg extend down long underneath you here. And just wake up here by pressing the right leg gently into your hands so you find the back really coming into all its natural curves. And then we're going to bring the left knee in and switch to stretch the right leg long, whether you hold behind your thigh or there up below your knee. Just feel again that you're pressing that leg gently into your hands. And then release and let both feet come to the floor. Your knees are bent here now. Bring your arms out beside you. And now, all we're going to do is roll onto our left side. Bring your knees, keep them bent as you come onto your side. And let your right hand come on over and touch your left hand so that your arms are straight out from your shoulders here. And just take a breath here. And now all we're going to do is let the right hand kind of circle overhead and reach it all the way over into a twist. As you come on over with that arm out beside you to the right, you can turn your head and look, if you want, towards the right. If this feels like too much, don't do it, or let it get a block and put it underneath the outside of your left leg if it's too much here. Just be easy. Let yourself release there in that gentle twist. And then we're going to bring the knees back to the top and our head back to center. Lift yourself up to straighten yourself out here now. Get your spine straightened out. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Roll to your right side. Let your left arm come on up so your left hand comes over to be on top of your right. Release your head if you can so the head's on the floor. And then let that left arm kind of circle up overhead, and as it opens over to the left side there, you can look if it feels good, turn your head, let yourself release into that twist. Again, if it feels like too much anywhere, put support if you need underneath the right leg there. Good. One more breath. And then bring your knees back up. Your feet are on the floor. Again, kind of straighten yourself out here now. Kind of lift your hips up. Get your spine straightened out. And now keep your right knee bent and the foot on the floor and extend your left leg down long underneath you. And now we're going to reach our right hand down to get our right ankle, which means you're going to have to curve a little bit sideways in your body, right? If you can reach down and get that ankle, then stretch your left arm up overhead. Now, if you want, you can bring the left arm more towards your head, and you might even want to finagle a little bit to get a deeper side stretch going here. So this also opens the front ribs big time. Your foot is on the floor. If you can't really get your ankle with the foot on the floor, just go towards it, right? But you keep that right foot on the floor. Both, and you're just really opening up through the left side of the body. Good. Now we're going to come back to center, which is the hard part. Let yourself adjust back, and you'll kind of have to lift up, shift around, get straight. Bend your left knee, put your left foot on the floor, extend your right leg long. And now think about reaching down. Now if you can't get your ankle, don't worry about it. Just get your hand down close to your foot there as you can. If you can get your ankle, again, on a sticky mat like this, you kind of have to finagle your way. Bring your right arm up. And again, if you want a little more side stretch, you can go even more into finagling your body a little bit more to that side stretch. So breathing into the right side here, opening up through the front of the right ribs. Hopefully it feels really good. Nice. One more breath here. And now again, you're going to have to finagle your way back. Bring your arm down, kind of get centered back, bring your feet on the floor, lift your hips up, kind of straighten your spine out. And then bring your knees in towards your chest, send your feet up to a little happy baby pose. Roll a little bit side to side to let your low back and your hips release. You don't have to get your feet, you know that. You be comfortable for your happy baby. Good. And then bring your knees back to center. And if you can, see if you can exhale and bring your head up, towards your knees. So you bring your face in towards your knees, kind of curl up into a little ball. And then release, let yourself come down. Bring your feet onto the floor, stretch your arms overhead, and now lengthen one leg at a time long. And from here, let your right hand encircle your left wrist and just pull up a little bit with that right hand, so you're just pulling up a little more through the left side. And then switch hands, let your left hand get your right wrist and pull up a little bit. And you can let your back come off the floor as much as you want right now. Just let it feel good, like you're just stretching as long as you can. And then let everything go. Bring your arms down beside you. Let everything relax for a second. Let yourself feel the feet kind of gently opening up a little bit so pinky toe goes down a little more towards the floor. Good. And then bring your feet onto the floor. How you sit up from here is totally up to you, right? If you want to roll to your side to sit up, if you want to roll onto your back and rock your way up, that's fine. Just be mindful. Come on into cross-legged. Let's bring our left foot in front, left leg in front for our cross-legged. And if any of you are okay to stack, so do the stacked logs instead of cross-legged, do that so you get a little more release. And then we're going to come just a bit forward to open up through the hips here. So bringing yourself forward with that long back. Does not matter how far you go. Take your time, let it feel good, and feel how great your back feels after being on the floor like that to start out. It's almost like you just feel more open through the back body, certainly more awake. Good, and then we'll rise on back up, take a nice inhale here, and on the exhale we're going to twist towards our left, bringing our right hand around towards our left knee, lengthening up. You're more than welcome to look more behind yourself. One more inhale, and on the exhale, come on back around through center. We're going to go all the way into the other direction. So again, just easily feel that gentle twist in the middle of the back. Good. One more inhale. And let your exhale draw you back into center. We're going to switch the cross of our legs. So you can stretch your legs out if you need to. Again, right leg in front. Or again, if your hips allow you to stack like this, just to get a little more into the hips too. But obviously that's not for everybody. And you don't want to get the feeling that you get unlevel. So, and if your knees way up, obviously just go ahead and sit cross-legged. And then ease your way forward again. So flexing through the feet gently, feeling the outside edges of your feet pressing down. And take your time. Let yourself go as far as you want. Good. One more breath here. And we're going to slowly make our way back up. Now let's all stretch our right leg out beside us. Keep your left foot where you're okay to be, right in this hip. Some of you might want the heel towards the midline and kind of go to the top of the foot. Some of you might need to put the foot out like this, because we're just going to come forward a little bit to wake up the inside of the leg here. So you come forward where you can and feel the heel on the floor of your right foot, and really think about the knee and the toe facing upward towards the ceiling. Good. Just a nice stretch for the inner thigh. One more breath. And then come up. Now this is optional, just for fun. So if you want to turn this leg over and come into like just a little mini pigeon for a second, you can actually roll all the way like you're doing a little pigeon pose here. And hold yourself up with your hands. Just let yourself open a little deeper here into the front of the right hip. Don't do it if it bothers you. You know, if you know pigeon's not for you, don't do it. And then we're going to roll back into center again, and we're just going to switch our legs. So as that left leg stretches out, again, you adjust. How it feels for your knee is up to you. Use a block underneath your knee too. If you start to come forward in this and your knee tells you something, really listen, adjust how deeply it's bent, put a block under it if you need to, so that you don't feel stress in your knee. And if you have to, just straighten it out, because just coming forward, even with both legs out, obviously, in a wide angle, will get that inner thigh. Good. One more breath. We're going to come on back up. And again, if you can think about rotating to get that right knee to turn a little more back behind you and come on into a little pigeon where you're up and you're holding yourself up and you're opening up through the front of that hip. Good. And then we're going to roll back again to bring our legs forward, stretching our legs on forward, and circle through your feet and your ankles a little bit. Shake them out side to side a little. And then bring your hands, and your hands are flexed and your feet are flexed. Your hands are forward from your shoulders. And then just let the fingertips face down as you point your feet. So let yourself flex here as you inhale. And as you exhale, let everything come back into pointing and flexing down. So one more time, inhaling. And then on the exhale, coming here. Bringing your hands behind you. You can turn either onto fingertips. You can go flat to your hands, letting your fingertips turn to face a little more behind you, and just open your chest here. However feels good. You may decide that you'd rather stay up on fingertips and not look up at all, right? You can stay looking forward with your chin parallel to the floor. Or you may decide it feels really good to look up a little bit, feel that openness across your chest. Good. And then we're going to release, let your head come on forward a little bit, let your chin turn side to side, so your neck releases a bit there. And come on back up now. We're going to come around to hands and knees. So if you don't want to be on your knees, do not be. You're more than welcome to grab blankets. You're more than welcome, obviously, to be up. You don't have to. So when you're in your cat-cow, if you know being on your knees is too stressful, you can stand up and put your hands on your thighs and do a cat-cow, right? So get comfortable. Actually look at your hands and see if you can. If you're not in fists, spread your fingers nice and wide and think of your pointer fingers being parallel to each other and your inner elbows turning to face each other. And then just start to ease into your cat pose, feeling the tailbone drop down. Now stay for a couple of breaths in your cat. Press down into the tops of your toes. Feel that engagement. And then as you inhale, the next time, send your tailbone back and up. Slowly move into your cow pose. Take your time here for a breath or two. Feel your hands on the floor. And on your next exhale, draw the tailbone up under you and come on back into your cat pose. So moving at your own pace now, whether it's quicker than that, or maybe you like to move extremely slowly, maybe you like to stay in cat or cow without moving for a couple of breaths. Good. And then finish off the one you're on. And come on back to a more neutral spine. And let's come onto our forearms and forward. Okay, so come down with your hips. Let yourself bend your knees just long enough to come into a half forearm plank. So you're on your forearms, elbows are under your shoulders, you're on the flesh above your knees, you're drawing yourself towards the front of your mat. You feel your belly engaging, you feel your shoulders, so you're trying not to have yourself up. It's like a plank, only it's a half one, right? So feel that engagement of your belly. One more breath there. And then release down. Bring your hands back by your chest. We're going to shift back towards pose of a child. Let yourself release on back towards child's pose with your arms overhead. And really feel your hands on the floor here. Feel your elbows hugging inward a little bit. So you're a little active in your arms and in your shoulders. And let your next inhale bring you on up to all fours. We're going to curl our toes under and find a down dog here. So make your way into your first downward facing dog pose by wagging your tail if you need, walking your dog if you need. You know, lift a foot up, circle a foot, 1 foot at a time if you want to. So you come into your feet, your ankles. Take your time, feel your hands on the floor as well. Really focus on each finger being into the ground equally. Good, and on your next inhale, in your full dog, let both heels rise up higher. And as you exhale, let them lower down. So as you inhale, the heels rise up. And as you exhale, they lower back down. And then from here, we're going to bring our knees on down, and we're going to step our left foot forward and come into our first lunge. So you know you're welcome to use your blocks as you come on up into that first lunge with the right leg back. Getting your alignment there of that front knee. Take your time. Lift your left toes up for a second. Look at your left foot. Make sure you're not rolling. Feel the arch lifting up, the four corners of the foot reaching down. And then let the toes release on back down to the floor. And we'll switch legs from here, however you like to do that, whether you like to step forward or back. So getting your alignment there of your lunge. Taking your time there, whatever height you like your hands, you know that. Lift your toes up on that right foot. Again, just be mindful. Take a little peek. Make sure you're not rolling. And then bring the toes on back down to the floor here now. And let's step forward and come on into standing forward bend. So feet are hips distance apart and parallel. You've got your blocks there if you'd like for support. Walk a little bit in your Uttanasana so you bend a knee at a time. And then come all the way equal between your feet here. So whether your knees are bent or straight, they are pretty equal feeling. And you be where you can be in your forward bend. Use support if you need. Elbows above the knees, hands on the blocks. Maybe you like your hands to go down towards the floor or onto your elbows. You know, you can always wrap your hands behind your legs too, if that feels good. Right to those breaths now. So we really opened up the ribs when we were lying on our backs on the floor. Think about that. Think about how your rib cage felt when you were on the floor doing those side stretches where you felt, you know, all that space, especially in the front ribs right now. Bend our knees, bring our hands to our hips. We're going to rise up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Bring your arms straight out from your shoulders and press out into the heels of the hands. So you're in a T position really here. And then bring your left arm on top of your right. Give yourself a hug. Let your elbows really melt down. And sit back like you're going into chair pose, right? So you can go as low as you want or stay as high as you want. If you have a doubt about what your knees are doing, look at them. And then bring your gaze maybe about, 4 or 5 feet in front of you on the ground there. Let your elbows really melt down. Now, if you want to go on into an eagle wrap, you can. You don't have to. But if it feels good, you can head all the way into that eagle wrap. One more breath. Unwind your arms, switch to bring the other arm on top of the hug. Let the elbows melt down at first. And then again, if you choose to come into that whole eagle wrap, you can. And then we're gonna unwind the arms, bring your hands onto your thighs, and let yourself do a couple of little cat-cows, just like this, with your hands on your thighs. Really feel that movement of the tailbone. Let yourself release the head to hang when you get up into that cat pose there. Let yourself ease your way through. And finish the one you're on. Come to like a nice long spine again. Press into your feet equally. We're going to rise up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let ourselves come into our mountain pose. So if you need to adjust into your mountain pose at all, let yourself do it. Whatever you need to do. Whether your eyes are opened or closed now, bringing your gaze on out. And see if you can just as lightly as you can feel your hands coming to meet. So it's very, very light touch, very soft. Feel the thighs gently lifting up as well towards the hips, finding that quiet strength of simply standing in your mountain pose. And as we let our arms now come all right on down beside us, we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, let's bend our knees as we come forward into standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find a nice long back. And exhale, right foot back to come into lunge. And inhale, exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So as you come into dog, walk a little bit. Bend a knee at a time. Let yourself shift your hips around too if that feels good. And then come on back to your full dog. Elbows hug in. Feel your hands very equal on the mat here. And let your next inhale bring you out to plank. Nice and strong. Engage the belly. Now to lower down, you can either put your knees down first or you can go down through a full push-up all the way down to the floor. And let's come into a sphinx with our elbows under our shoulders. Spreading your hands nice and wide. Feel your hands on the floor. Feel each finger. Actually, let's do this. Lift your pointer fingers up a little bit and then let them come back down. And then your middle fingers are going to lift up a little bit and then come back down. And then your ring fingers up and exhale down. And then your pinky fingers are going to just float up as you inhale and exhale down. Now try your thumbs just a little bit and then bring them back down. Let yourself enjoy one more breath here in your Sphinx. And then as we lower down, we'll bring our hands back by our chest. We're going to come on back into down dog, whether you come through a half or a full push-up. Totally up to you. And we'll bring our right foot forward to come into lunge. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. Lift your toes up for a second. Feel the arches gently wanting to rise away from the floor. And just make sure you're not rolling. If you want to give your toes a little bit of love, you can do a little massaging of your toes there if you can. And then slowly let the toes really softly come to the ground. We'll bring our hands to our hips, rise on up to standing, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's inhale our hands right up through the midline. And now bend your elbows. Let your hands come behind just the top of the back of your head. So hug your elbows forward a little bit, in a little bit towards each other. And then see if you can lift them up. Now, really, you got to fight one to curl your tailbone forward. Keep the tailbone reaching down towards between the heels so you're not tucking and rounding right into that low back that way. One more breath. And then extend your arms up. If you want to look at your hands, you can. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, open the arms like wings and come on forward. Let your next inhale help you find that long, flat back. And exhale, left foot back this time to find lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. Letting your inhale bring you out to plank. Take your time here. Lift your right foot a little off the floor And then bring your right knee in like you're bringing it in a little towards your chest. And then stretch it back to that three-legged plank and put the foot down. Left foot lifts up a little. Knee bends, comes in a little bit towards your chest. Stretch it back long. Put it back down. We're going to lower down, knees first if you need, elbows right by the ribs. And let's come into a cobra. Now you can stay really low without any weight in your hands if you like. Or you can press into your hands and come up higher into your cobra with your elbows hugging in towards your ribs. Just be mindful. Feel space between your ears and your shoulders. And then we'll release back down. We're going to come back to down dog. Again, whether you get back through hands and knees or a half or a full push-up, you get back into your down dog the way you can. This time left foot will come forward to come into lunge. And then we'll come all the way back into standing forward bend. Go right to your breath. And you know, just let your hands go right where it feels the most comfortable for you right now at this moment, right? Might not be the same as every other day. If it doesn't feel good when you get your hands there, put them somewhere else, right? And then just breathe. Full, deep, even as you can breaths. Good. And as we let our hands now come back up to our hips, we're going to bend our knees and rise up to standing. Inhale our arms all the way out and up. And let our exhale bring our hands right down together in front of our hearts. Enjoy a couple of breaths in mountain pose. We're going to move with our breath through two sun salutations. So really, if you can, try to just imagine the most important thing is your breath. And instead of worrying too much about form, right? Imagine the breath is moving the body through these two sun salutations. So keeping that focus, unfolding your arms down beside you, let your inhale bring your arms out and up overhead, and let your exhale carry you forward. Let your next inhale lengthen out your spine. Exhale, right foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. Let your inhale be what brings you to your plank, and your exhale will lower you, and your inhale brings you to cobra. Your exhale brings you back to down dog. Inhale. Exhale, right foot forward to lunge, and inhale. Exhale to your standing forward bend. Inhale, rising all the way up to the top with that breath, and let your exhale bring you forward. Inhale into that nice long back. Exhale, left foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into downward dog. Let your inhale be what brings you to your plank. Your exhale lowers you down, and your inhale carries you up to cobra, and your exhale brings you back into down dog. Inhale. Exhale, left foot forward to lunge, and inhale. Exhale to your standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising up again. Arms all the way to the top. And on the exhale, we're going to come forward again. Let your inhale lengthen your spine. This time we're going into down dog. Place your hands. Get into your dog however you want. You can jump. You can walk. Just be mindful. Take your time. Good. Be easy as you let yourself come to rest a little bit in your down dog. Good. And try that same thing as we did before. When you inhale, let your heels rise way up. When you exhale, let them release down. Not that they come to the floor, right? But the inhales, you get really into, you're up on the toes. Feel the balls of the feet. When you exhale, the heels lower down. Feels good. It's kind of relieving. Finish off. Back to your full down dog. And we're going to bring our left foot forward. We're coming up for warrior two. You will want your blocks handy, maybe. So line up your heels. Let yourself get really mindful of having your heels in a pretty much of a line, and that alignment of the front knee here. And then see if you can look down at your left knee and straighten it, and then bend it again, and watch it as you do it. So bending and straightening a few times. Let yourself, when you straighten the knee, you try to keep it lined up with the center of the foot. When you bend it, same thing. So you get into this kind of groove. Your knee tends to want to go right into this groove. The outer left hip drops back a little when the knee bends. Good. Finish off with the knee bent there. Let's release our arms out beside us. Turn your palms up for a second. Actually, put your fingertips on the top of your shoulders for a second. Let your elbows melt down. And then rise the elbows back up a little bit. Unfold your arms. Keep the elbows soft, though, as you just come right to looking at your left palm. And let's rotate the hands so the palms face down. Reaching out through the fingertips here now. Feel the feet in the floor. Imagine you're trying to make your mat a little longer with your feet, and you're getting all the way up into your hips. We're going to bring our right hand right to our right hip and straighten our left knee out. And we're going to bring this left hand down for triangle. So for me, I like to use a block. And you know, it can be in front of or behind your left foot there. You can use two if you don't want to go that low, or you can use your leg. So rotate that right shoulder up and see if you can now put your right hand behind your head. Now, I know not everybody will feel good to do this, right? So if you can put your right hand behind your head, you can let yourself maybe lift that right elbow up towards the ceiling a little bit. And, you know, feel the side waist there. It's pretty intense, just that, right? And then if you want to unfold your arm up straight up from your shoulder, you can come into your triangle arm there, feeling the thighs lifting up towards the hips, imagining you're trying to lengthen your mat with your feet. Good, one more breath. And now turn to look at the floor. Bring your right hand down. Find a lunge briefly. And then we're just going to walk around into a wide-legged forward bend. So getting yourself on around. Start to bend a knee at a time to adjust the width of your stance. You know, have your blocks if you want them. Once you get really evened out kind of there between your feet, you feel good how wide you are. Either have your hands on a block or the floor in front of you. Lengthen out your spine. So you got a really nice long back, and then you're going to bring your right hand up to your right hip, and as you roll that right shoulder up, stay really flat there in your sacrum. So you're trying not to rise that right hip up, drop the left one down, but instead they stay pretty equal. Good, and then put the right hand down. We're going to switch. Bring the left hand up. As you roll the shoulder up and you put the palm down, just let it feel really good. Finding that twist in the middle of the back. Feel your feet pressing away from each other like you're trying to make your mat longer, and there's some added little extra. And then bring your hand back down. And now see, bend your knees a little bit. See if you can walk your hands way out like you're doing down dog, but keep your hands wider than you do for dog. And then see about letting yourself release head downward a little bit. Oh, I have a block there. That feels really good, but you can just let your head hang, but think about your heart melting down towards the ground a little bit. Just release and breathe. Good. One more breath there. And then we're going to walk our hands back, and we are going to walk back to our left foot to come back into a lunge. And from there, we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose. You're on your own here. If you'd like to come out and do kriyas or vinyasas of any kind, and you know those are not necessary, you can stay in dog if you'd rather. So feel free to put your knees down and rest in child's pose if you'd rather. By all means, you know, those are your options, what you do here. Good. So finish off the one you're on. If you were doing something that's one-sided, try to do the other side too, so that we can meet back in down dog. And from here, we'll bring our right foot forward. And we're coming up for warrior two on the other side. So again, finding that alignment of your heels. Finding that alignment of that front knee and looking at your right knee. And then again, straightening the knee and then bringing it back into bending it. So try to look at the track of the knee. And you know, I mean, one of my knees really does not want to stay tracked. I mean, I think about it a lot. It's structurally maybe impossible for some of these things to happen, but you can still focus on it so that you don't get in the habit of just letting go and letting that knee come inward, right? So you're really focusing on keeping it in line in that kind of groove. Next time you bend it, let it stay there. And then we'll float our arms on up, turn your palms up, put your fingertips on the top of your shoulders and let your elbows melt down. So feel really easy there in the tops of the shoulders. Good. And then from here, let's just unfold our arms and turn our palms down towards our thighs and then rise the arms on up and out. Straight out from the shoulders, feeling the feet in the floor. So imagine you're just as equal as you can be from your right to your left side. Even though you're not symmetrical, you're equally balanced. We'll put our left hand down on our left hip, straighten our right knee out, and bring our right hand on down for that triangle pose. So again, you may want to use a block under your hand. You may want to use your leg. Lift your thighs up towards your hips. Start to rotate that left shoulder up. And now if you can put your left hand on the back of your head with the elbow bent, right? So that the elbow wants to reach up. Now feel your feet pressing away from each other and your thighs lifting up. And that's a great little side waist stretch. Very intense. And you can lift the arm up anytime you choose. You can let the arm come straight up from your shoulder. If any of you want to turn to look up at that hand, you can imagine you're pressing the hand forward a little bit. Nice. And let's go ahead and turn to look back towards the floor. We're going to shift back into a lunge for a second. So go ahead and take your lunge. And then again, we're going to walk around from that lunge into that wide-legged forward bend. And you can use your blocks. Your blocks could be like extensions of your hands. And then go ahead and bend your knees. Do what you need to do to adjust your stance. However wide or less wide you want to be. Good. And now, unless this bothers your back, walk your hands back towards between your feet. So that if you drew a line from your toes to your toes, right, your fingertips would be on that same line. You can still kind of keep your back long here, bend your knees a bit, keep your back long, maybe just let your head hang. Some of you might want to go ahead and fold so that the top of the head releases towards the ground. You can have your legs straighter. Feel your elbows softly hugging towards each other. But feel your shoulders drawing away from your ears, right? Not in a stressful way. But just so you don't just like hang in your shoulders, right? Shoulders are engaging away from your ears. Such a great pose. Just follow your breaths in and out. And if it bothers your back, don't do it. Keep your hands out more in front of you. Full deep breaths. And from here, we're going to walk our hands back out. And walk back to our right foot. Come on back into lunge. We're going to make our way back into downward facing dog pose. Take your time. You're more than welcome to come out for your vinyasas, your kriyas. You're welcome to put your knees down. If you want to open your hips, you can do those, lifting a leg up, opening a hip, play around however you want to, right? Let it feel easy, in other words. Let it feel like fun. And that's the whole purpose, right? If it's not fun, we're not going to want to do it. So, just be a little playful. Good. And when you're kind of ready to settle back into dog, let yourself come on back into your dog. Feel your hands on the floor, elbows hugging towards each other. Reach back through your sit bones. And this time, we're going to bring our left foot forward into lunge. Get your blocks and have your blocks right underneath your hands. Because from here, right away, we're going to come into pyramid pose. We're going to straighten that left knee out. Let the right heel turn just slightly inward, right? Most of us 20, 30 degree turn out. You don't have to have blocks. You can have a floor if you want. And then just enjoy. Feeling your thighs lifting up towards your hips. Feel that sense of, at the same time as your thighs are lifting up, you're drawing your hip pointer bones towards each other, but then you're sending your tailbone back a little bit. And that is really deep work, right? So if you like to bow over your leg, go for it. If folding forward, letting yourself come forward over that leg feels good, you can. Breathe. Good, and then come up again where you're more parallel to the floor. And we're going to come into revolve triangle. Left hand is going to come up to our left hip. And we're going to roll that shoulder up. Now this is the point where for me it's real easy just to forget about drawing my hip pointers towards each other and open through to the right more. But try to keep, as best you can, level there at your sacrum and feel that sense of hip pointer bone still drawing inwards. You can stretch your top arm up or not. Take your time. Oh, good. We're going to come on back down. One of the hardest poses there is to me. From here, walk your hands to the inside of your left foot here. Come into lunge, right? And now it's up to you. We're going to lower the back knee down. If you need a blanket underneath your knee, get it. And see if you can get out of your hands at all by coming either onto your blocks on forearms, or some of you might want to go down to the floor. Pressing gently into the top of the toes. Now this pose, it's just awesome, isn't it? Now if you want to add a little twist, some people like to bring their left hand up above their knee and then just gently come into a twist, which really increases the stretch here in the front of the right hip and your thigh, right? If you don't like doing that, don't do it. Good. And then come on back down. Let yourself take one more breath here so you feel the top of the right toes in the floor. And then let yourself come up to your hands so that you can switch your hands around, stretch your front leg out, and come out over that front leg into a bit of a hamstring stretch. So you can come forward with your hands. Totally up to you. You guys who like to do splits work, you know this is a splits preparation. So if you're like, oh, well, I just really want to come forward and down towards a split, you can make your way there. You've got your hands to support you, so don't go any further than, you've got strong arms, all of you, so you can support yourself where you're not coming too far. And you don't have to do this at all. You can stay just coming forward over that front leg. Good. From here, getting back is the fun part, bringing that knee back. And come on into a brief child's pose. Let yourself shift your hips back. You can stay forward on your forearms if you need to, you know that. Just release and breathe into your low back. Good. And then stretch your arms overhead. We're going to come up to all fours. We're going to come on back into down dog. Walk a little bit. Come on out for a plank. If you want to add a back bend, do. If you don't, just go from your dog to your plank. If you like adding a back bend, whether you come down to the floor through chaturanga or just come from your down dog to your up dog. Let's meet back in down dog. And this time right foot comes forward. And again, take your time here. We're going to come into pyramid pose. So you're letting yourself get adjusted with that back foot, the length of your stance. Remember also the width of your stance in this pose. Some people like to have their feet a little more apart the wide way because it just feels better in their hips. The back foot is turned out maybe 20 or 30 degrees, right? And then your thighs are lifting upward. And then draw your hip pointer bones towards each other. So feel how your belly works to do that. And then send your tailbone back while you're still keeping your belly doing that. And that is really hard. It's kind of fun in a strange kind of way. And then let yourself fold forward only if you choose to. You can stay out over the leg. And starting to lengthen out again now, whether you use the blocks or the floor. Remember, we're going to do that revolved triangle with our right hand, coming to our right hip, and then rolling that shoulder up. Now, it's very tempting to roll on that right foot. So make sure you're not rolling to the outside of the right foot. And again, you're trying to stay level. If you like lifting your arm up, you can. Or you can keep your hand right down on your back. Feel that sense again of lengthening out through the crown of your head. One more breath. And now bring your hand on back down. And we're going to Bend that front knee, find your lunge so that you can walk your hands to the inside of that right foot. And your toes are turning out, remember, slightly towards the right front corner of your mat. And then you can put your knee on down. If you need a blanket under it, grab it. And then you can come out of your hands if you want, down onto your forearms, whether you come onto blocks or the floor. So the blocks have a lot of heights. You can stack blocks up, and that might be good enough. You might decide you want to go down lower on the blocks or all the way to the floor. And now this little twist, remember, totally optional. If you want to bring your right hand up kind of to the outside of your knee and then roll that shoulder up and back a little bit, press into the top of the left toes, very deep in the front of that left hip, in your thigh. So again, don't do it if it doesn't feel good. And then release to come on back down. Stay here for a breath. Again, feel the top of the foot into the floor back there. And now, coming up enough where you can shift to bring your hands to either side of that front foot. You got to kind of straighten yourself out as you shift your hips back and come into coming out over that front leg. Feel the heel on the floor, draw the heel back towards you, kind of press the ball of the foot forward. You're engaged in the front and the back of the leg now. And of course, this heading towards a little more of a split, totally up to you. If you feel like that feels good, you can use your arms to support you. And just don't do it. If it doesn't feel good, just stay back with your hips and work to where you can be. When you're ready, we're going to bring ourselves back. Come on into child's pose again here now. And let it be a really relaxed child's pose, right? So maybe you want to bring your arms back by your legs. Maybe you like having your arms overhead. Or maybe you want to make a little pillow with your hands. Rest your head, your forehead on your hands. And of course, if your hips don't shift back to the heels, you can still get really released like this with your bottom up or more up in the air. And you can let yourself melt your heart down there. Release and breathe. And find where you can be, finding the most relief there. Good. One more breath. Now, come on up to all fours. Curl your toes under, lift your knees up, walk your feet towards the outside edges of your mat. And then walk your hands on back. And you can either squat with your elbows above your knees right here and be perfectly happy. If any of you want to bring your hands around to the outside of your ankles, even maybe bringing your hands more behind your feet to squat your hips down towards the ground, you can. Obviously not necessary. Pay attention to your knees. Or if some of you want to turn your toes out and that feels better to squat and bring your hands into prayer hands in front of you. So find the squat that feels the most releasing for you and not stressful in your knees. Letting your low back and your hips release. Nice. And from here, we are going to get back up to standing. So however that works for you, getting your feet underneath you again, hips distance apart and parallel. And see if you can lift one foot, circle that foot a little bit, and then put it down and lift the other one up, put it behind you, let it circle. You can even press into the tops of your toes a little bit on each side. Let your feet get a little love there. And then come on back and let yourself release into your Uttanasana. Full deep breaths. Let your arms do exactly what they want to do. If you want to clasp your hands behind you or bring your hands to your elbows or onto your calves. And then as we press into our feet now, bend our knees. We're going to rise on up to standing. And we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, as our hands come down, think about our head coming up higher. Top of the head just floating upward, almost like you're all the way to the ceiling of the top of your head, right? So just enjoy all the space in your spine. Really awake now throughout the body. And then we'll arms come on down. Shake out a little bit. Move around. We're bringing our mat into a wall. So I know you three can go there. You two can go there. Yeah, and if you don't mind, can you come to that wall, Betsy? And then Tom, you can come over here by Chrissy. How's that? See if we can spread out enough that way. Good. And now we are going to just get a block. And we're going to have the block to stand on. Let's do our left hand towards the wall. Left hand towards the wall, and turn the block lowest height so that when you step up on it, you know, your foot is almost perfect for a block, right? When you step up on that block, it's like, it's a pretty easy little step up there. You can keep your foot pretty parallel on the block, right? And then go ahead and bend the knee, step the right foot back down, and then do that again. Just lift up and go down a couple of times. Feel your quad working there. Feel all those muscles around your knee. Feel how your core body wants to work here, just pressing into that foot to rise that right foot up off the floor. Good. Now finish off, come back up and stay up. Bring your right foot in for tree pose. So you may want your foot down low. You may want to bring the foot up higher into your inner thigh. Totally up to you. Just make sure you're not pushing your foot into the inside of your knee. Bring your left arm up the wall. And then see about bringing your right arm up as well. And you can decide if you want to let yourself balance here or keep your hand just gently onto the wall. Remember, you're on a block, so, you know, a little bit different if you fell out of it, so be mindful. Take your time, let yourself enjoy feeling the foot gently coming into your inner leg, the inner leg coming back into your foot. Good. One more breath. And now remember, you're on the block. So when you come down, take your time to shift your way down. Take care of that leg you're standing on if you need to. We're going to turn around. So again, kind of position the block where it feels pretty good to step up on it. And then again, you know, once your left foot is off the floor, bend your right knee again, put the left foot back onto the floor. And then push into that right foot and come back up again. So do a few of those. Now, if you were to do like 30 of these a day, that's kind of a lot, and you'd probably feel like really strengthening that happens in the thighs and the legs, all around your knees too. So a good one. Finish off when you're back up at the top there on the block. Bring your left foot in for your tree. Again, whether you bring it below or above the knee, it does not matter. And again, just enjoy that right arm up the wall, left arm up too if you can. You can keep the back of your fingers or hands on the wall and enjoy your tree pose right there. Good. One more breath. I lied. That's more than one more breath. And then come on down when you're ready. Good. Move your block out of the way for a second. And you might have to look. It's a little bit different than what I usually talk about doing, but I want to put our left foot up the wall to where I've got my toes at the top of the baseboard, and I'm just on my heel on the floor, and I'm going to step my right foot back, a little mini lunge. My heel is on the floor, right? And then I'm going to put my forearms on the wall and just bend that left knee a little bit and get into, now if you don't feel like you have enough, step back farther with that foot. Engage your belly and just open up and find a nice release there through the back of the right leg. But you're also getting a good stretch on your left foot. Think about the heel of the right foot reaching directly behind you, not inward like Warrior One, not that little turn, but really directly back behind you. Good. We're going to switch legs. So once you step that left foot back and you put the toes up to the top of the baseboard and you're kind of pressing a little bit into the toes on the baseboard and you start to bend that knee, you know, you might, I don't know, if you're tight in calves like I am, man, this is really deep in a tight calf. One more breath. And then let yourself step back. We're going to turn away from the wall, and we're going to come on down with our feet back towards the wall behind us. Let yourself come into a child's pose for a couple of breaths. So if you need to stay somewhat forward, do. Let yourself release and breathe. Nice full breaths. And now, if you know that coming onto like your dog with your heels up the wall, working a little that way is too much for your wrist, you can right away go to your forearms if you want. Or you can come up to your hands and knees and curl your toes under and come into your down dog with your heels up the wall, elbows hugging in. And I know a lot of you like to lift a leg up from here. And you can do that whether you're on your forearms or you're on your hands. And if you don't want anything to do with any of this, don't do it, right? So you can let yourself play a little bit with some handstand preparation work that way. Or forearms. You're working towards forearm stand. Some of you might want to do both feet at the same time, or even walk towards, we did splits earlier. You can walk your hands closer to the wall when you have a foot up, and then you come closer towards a split, right? You can come to where you're like, oh my goodness, I can almost do a split right up the wall. Or, you can think about wanting to do that. So take your time. Release when you want to. You know that. Really, really pay attention to your wrists. And when you've had enough, don't force it. You can always go it 2 or 3 times. So rest when you want, and if you're like, I want to do more than rest, I want to stop, then do it. And you can rest however you need, sitting up, in child's pose. It's better to have your head above your heart, just kind of play a little bit with doing that. Good, nice. So be mindful, if you do want to go up one more time, let it be now, or maybe you're finishing off one that you're up in right now. Good. And from here, let's come on around to sit with our legs around in front of us. So bring yourself around. Let's see if we can go, after all the stuff we did and the hips, let's see if we can. Remember we started, let's do left leg on top. Let's see if any of us might feel good to bring our right knee more forward and bring our left leg over into a cow face. Now, some people's hips just aren't even built to think about doing cow face pose. So, obviously, stay cross-legged. If you need to, let yourself stay cross-legged. Or sometimes just trying a little bit more over feels good. Something a little bit different in your hips than when you're cross-legged. Only you know how your hips are. So, you be where you can be. See if you can, whatever you're doing, sit up nice and tall for a second, and then imagine coming forward a little bit. And those of you who are in full cow face might want to put your hands on your feet. So if that feels good, you can put your hands on your feet. It's kind of a nice connection. Yeah. And just let yourself enjoy that top hip, man. It's pretty deep, isn't it? Just be mindful. Let it feel good. Let yourself rise on back up, and just for fun, bring your right arm up overhead, bend your elbow, and maybe bring your left hand behind you. Now you can turn the palm out and sit up just for a second like this, or you can try to work your hands towards each other. Just open your shoulders a little bit wherever you can be. There's no need to get your hands. Remember, if you practice this at home with a towel, like you're in the shower and you get out and you hold the towel behind you. Every day, if you did that, I bet anything, your shoulders would start to feel different. Well, come on down. We're going to switch legs. So let yourself stretch out a little bit. Again, you might just sit cross-legged, right leg in front. You might want to draw your left knee where it kind of faces more forward and get yourself stacked a little bit with your knees for your cow face. So just sitting up tall at first, and then taking your time to bring yourself a little bit forward. Are we okay over there?
No, this side doesn't work the same.
I know, isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very typical. And you know what? This pose really shows that more, for the hips, almost more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's okay. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be symmetrical, right? So just let yourself be mindful and come forward a little bit if you can. And you know, this pose, being able to sit in this pose has nothing to do with anything really except how you're built in your hips. But you know, you can get a really nice release and stretch for the hips. Come on back up. Let's bring our left arm up overhead. Bend your elbow. Try to put your hand behind you. Right hand can be just low, palm turning out. Just make sure you're looking forward so you're not rounding here. And again, if you like to bring your hands closer towards each other on your back, you can. And again, at home you can practice that. I mean, you know, a towel or a belt, of course. We use straps sometimes. So just let yourself be where you can. Keep your gaze on forward. Nice. And then we're going to release. Let our arms come down. Unfold your legs. Stretch them on out for a second and shake them out a little bit. And come away from the wall enough to where we're going to do a little boat pose and then we're going to lie down. So you don't want to hit your head in the wall. Let yourself lean back. Hold behind your thighs for a second. You can either clasp your hands or hold separately. I like to clasp, and then float your lower legs up if you can. Flex your feet, look at your feet, and let your heels separate a tiny little bit and press the outside edges of your big toe mounts together a little bit. There you go, and then you can decide, do you want to let go of your legs at all? Does that feel good? Or would you prefer to just keep holding on, right? Or would you like to stretch out long a little bit? Play a little bit with longer legs, or bringing your hands up your legs some too can be really fun, because that enforces that total lift, right? That length of the spine if you're holding your legs up higher or your feet. And if it hurts your back, do not do it. And we're going to release. Feet back down. If you like to roll down through your spine to come to the floor, do. If you know, no, I don't like that, my back doesn't like that, don't do it. Once you get down there, bring your right knee into your chest, extend your left leg long on the floor, and then hold behind your thigh, your right thigh, and let your foot go up like you're putting a footprint on your ceiling, on the ceiling there above you. And then draw the thigh a little more to the right, like you're sliding the inner thigh towards the outside of the ribs. And just let it feel good. Some of you might want to reach up and get your foot. You can hold your pinky toe side of your foot with your right hand, and your left hand can hold the big toe mount, right? If that's possible. And if you like to let your leg come longer, by all means do. That is totally up to you. You can let the knee stay bent. You can stretch it out a little bit more if you want. Good. And then release the foot, bring the knee back in, and we're going to switch to bring the left knee in. Extend the right leg down long. And then again, reach up with that foot like you're putting that footprint on the ceiling. Slide the thigh towards the outer ribs. And then again, if you can reach up and get your foot, it's not necessary to get your foot. But if you can, you can hold on. Again, inside the foot, the big toe mound with your right hand, your left hand on the pinky toe side. And of course, again, if you like trying to lengthen the leg long, because that feels like a huge relief, do. Don't ever feel like you're trying to force, though, right? Keep the knee bent if you need. Don't try to pull and feel any kind of pulling sensation on your hamstring there. Good, and then bend the knee, bring the knee back down, bring your feet to the floor now, separate your feet a little wider, let your knees come from side to side. And you know, if you bring your knees to the right, you want to hang out there, you can always pick your right foot up and put it kind of on the outside above your left knee and stay there to let yourself just release a little deeper. So if your knees are to the left foot comes off the floor and comes to the outside just above your right knee, and you can hang out there. If you don't like those, don't do them. It's even more again into that. I was working on side waist a lot today. It's a nice stretch for there. But you know what? Do what your body wants to do. You know, you need another kind of a little twist or a hip opener, a bridge pose or a plow pose or anything else at all right now. You can let yourself do it. And that could be anything because we all feel differently after a class like this, and we know it. So be mindful and take time. I'm just going to start to wander around, turn off lights, and start to bring things as well. So feel like it sounds like a really good idea. You know, you can use the wall behind you. If you want to lie with your legs up the wall, by all means. If anybody thinks that a bolster or a blanket, remember there are lots of ways to find relief. If any part of you is bothering you, I'll be happy to try it out. I mean, if you want to open your chest, you can lie back on a bolster underneath your spine. If you feel like your low back is bothering you, I can bring a bolster for under your knees and see if that little change in your pelvis by putting support under your knees helps. Don't see anybody waving, so be mindful. And you know, you might want to change how your arms or your legs are in order to find a little more release up into your shoulders and your hips. Just enjoy feeling that firmness of the ground underneath you supporting you. And just let yourself easily come to watching your breaths. Can, it's a kind of detached, it's like a detached way of watching your breath because you don't want to try to control, you're just accepting them. Your mind will wander off, but then you just easily come back again and again and again. Letting yourself keep finding those little quiet places. Allowing yourself to completely and fully relax. yourself to start feeling your breath coming in and going out more fully and deeply again. And those deeper breaths just naturally really help you want to move a little bit. Fingers and toes, you're feeling refreshed a little bit as you start to move your hands, your feet. And your arms and legs might need to stretch. You might need to curl up into a little ball or bring your knees in. Just take your time. If you need to stay on your back a little bit, do. If you know you like to roll to either your right or your left side, you can come onto your side and let your knees be soft. Maybe you want to use an arm as a pillow. Just feeling cradled by the ground a little bit longer. Kind of being happy that gravity's holding you down there. And of course, take your time when you're ready to rise up. Let it feel like you're floating your way up really, so you still can stay very relaxed and soft, and let your eyes stay closed as you get really comfortable in how you're sitting. Whatever you need to do with your legs, let them do it. If they need to stretch, if you like to get a blanket to sit on, do, or keep your legs crossed if that feels good. With your eyes gently closed now, really focusing in on your sitting bones reaching down towards the ground and the top of your head floating up towards the ceiling. You let your hands come to a comfortable place. Maybe you want to turn your palms up and rest the backs of your hands somewhere on your legs or your knees. And on your next exhale, bring your hands gently to meet there in front of your chest. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste. Happy Friday. Getting towards the end of July now.